Did you ever forget your keys? Well, it's a common error and it happens to most of us. I have a terrible time with my cell phone and my charger. But in regards to the keys, losing one's keys, Johns Hopkins University memory specialist Barry Gordon has said that the problem would not be in forgetting your keys or forgetting where you put them. The problem would be if you're forgetting that you own a house or a car in which to use the keys. Well, welcome to our presentation, Memory Making, What Our Brains Do Most. I'm Dave Balog, and I'm a science writer who specializes on brain topics. I created and wrote the Dana Sourcebook of Brain Science. I worked there as an editor for 12 years, and it was my pleasure to work with leading scientists, including Nobel laureates. The basics of the brain and advances being made rapidly are crucial to our society. We need to understand this most powerful resource that drives us individually and as a society. Well, memories, making them, storing them, and retrieving them are what our brains do most. And it all happens in the most complicated, astonishing resource in the known and perhaps unknown world, the human brain. It's a remarkable structure that we inherit. It's been built through the millennia from our ancestors. It's just 3.5 pounds, made of a gelatinous substance not unlike a thick oatmeal. Each of our brains has 100 billion neurons, or brain cells, each of which of those neurons has 7,000 connections to other brain cells. And now we're getting crazy here. And this remarkable resource has been compared to a power plant that has operated continuously and remained open while building upon itself. And this man is David Mahoney, a successful businessman who became, through hard work, the leading lay expert on the brain. He established the Dana Alliance for Brain Initiatives and galvanized support for brain research, which is transforming medicine and people's lives. Mahoney had been the head of many businesses in the late 20th century. Avis Rent-A-Car, Canada Dry, and one other, Good Humor, of which he told many stories, funny stories. He always wanted a competitive edge, and he learned that the key to his employees' success was for them to have healthy, productive lives. And to get that, they needed healthy, optimally functioning brains. For instance, brains not compromised by addiction or alcoholism. Well, the brain consists of 4 lobes or sections, and each plays a role in memory and each talks to each other. From the top left in this slide, we have the frontal lobe. Then to the right of that, the parietal lobe. Then the occipital lobe, the cerebellum included here, and the temporal lobe. The frontal lobe, as we go from the top clockwise, the frontal lobe is involved in decision making, impulse control, judgment, emotional control as well. The parietal lobe governs sensory perception and movement. The occipital lobe is primarily our vision center. The cerebellum, depicted here, is crucial to coordination, balance. And then finally, the temporal lobe deals with language, sexuality, emotion, hearing, and memory. Pretty amazing structure. And this man, the late Henry Molaison, known by his initials HM for most of his adult life because of privacy issues, he made a remarkable contribution to our understanding of the brain and memory. As a young man, Henry Molaison suffered a bicycle accident that damaged his brain and left him vulnerable to severe epileptic seizures. This happened in the 1950s, and with a limited knowledge of brain structure and function at the time, the only people to have ever seen a live functioning brain were surgeons. His doctors performed a life-saving but daring and really misguided operation. They removed a section of his brain called the hippocampus. Here you see in the center of the picture of the brain. The doctors removed the hippocampus and the surrounding structures and tissues. They knew that the hippocampus of Henry Molaison was somehow involved in the seizures, but they did not know the critical role that this structure plays in memory, all of it. Well, this woman, Dr. Brenda Milner, made a major breakthrough in our understanding of memory by studying Henry Molaison and the function of his brain after the surgery. Previously, memory had been a black hole. This is in the 1950s. Something so mysterious it was given up for deeper study. But in her work, Brenda Milner discovered that memory was not a monolithic function of the brain. It turns out there were much deeper, varied aspects to memory, memory making, memory retrieval. Brenda Milner discovered that while Henry Molaison retained his memories before his accident, before his operation, he was permanently unable to form new memories, called explicit memories, names, dates, directions, telephone numbers, and the like. But Dr. Milner, discovered through a brilliant experiment that Henry could form a new memory called a procedural memory, such as bike riding. It revolutionized our study of memory. Suddenly, scientists realized that memory was much more complex and nuanced. And in this picture, you can see the famous experiment that Dr. Milner conducted with Henry Molaison. He was asked to look in a mirror and to draw the lines and to draw within the lines of this star. And though he had no recollection of doing so before, because that was explicit memory, his procedural memory, drawing the star, did remember how to perform this function, and he improved on it consistently. And this scientist is Nobel Prize winning scientist Eric Kandel. He took the micro view of memory by studying a sea slug. Dr. Kandel was able to uncover the chemical process by which memories form and are retrieved. And this is, in its natural habitat, the California sea slug. And Dr. Kandel chose it because it has very large neurons and not too many of them compared to a human subject. But they function in the same way, using the same chemicals, and they sort of are an expression, as are many other things, of the unity of life, which is a remarkable thing when you study science. Well, Dr. Kandel studied took the micro view. He studied the synapse, and the synapse is has been called the relay race of life. You see, in our brains, we communicate from synapse to synapse. At the top here, you'll see a nerve impulse, and it's using uh, chemicals called neurotransmitters and electrical signals to jump across this gap between the next synapse. It's called the synaptic cleft. And it is how we perform everything. And these junctions, when they are strengthened, they create memories. Dr. Cannell has famously said that if you learn everything, say from this presentation, your synapses are changed. And here is a view of a synapse, more than 100 of which can actually fit on the head of a pin. It's an electrochemical reaction that helps our brain cells communicate with each other. And a key chemical necessary to strengthen synapses is phosphorus, a process called phosphorylation, which was a key factor in Dr. Candell's and his colleagues' discovery of just what makes a memory, for which he won the group led by Dr. Kandel won the Nobel Prize in 2000. Phosphorus is, of course, a common chemical that helps our gardens grow green and lush. It's also key in our memory making. And here in this slide, we're looking at the actress Mary Lou Henner. And behind her is actor Danny DeVito. Mary Lou Henner is about one of 100 people in the entire world who has perfect recall. She remembers every day of her life and every detail of every day. She experiences this capability in a positive sense. However, there are others with the same capacity who are overwhelmed, and it is not a good life for them. Well, this is Dr. James McGaugh of the University of California, Irvine. He has studied this phenomenon, which has been named highly superior autobiographical memory. Brain imaging has shown that people with this specialized memory have a supersized structure, in red here, called the caudate, and it is located deep, deep inside the brain. And in this image, we see where our brains store memories, deep in the fissures and sulci of our central cortex, the outermost layer of our brains, and the most recently evolved part. And there is a phenomenon of memory which we all experience, and it's called the flashbulb memory. These memories remain strong years and decades later because they are accompanied, reinforced by chemicals from our emotional structures in the brain, such as the amygdala. And these chemicals include the well-known adrenaline. Well, do any of these memories strike you as clear events? For me, the 1963 assassination of President John F. Kennedy stands out. It was my first memory. I was 6 years old. I can remember everything from that day and the following weekend when and that the nation basically stopped in grief and mourning for the funeral. Or how about the death of Princess Diana in 1997? In the UK, especially, this is a searing memory for the citizens. Or, of course, 9/11. Who can forget? Interesting, the brain also has a filtering system to help us dispose of unwanted, nonsense memory information. For instance, how would you respond to this question? What was Abraham Lincoln's telephone number? Well, that's a question that makes no sense, and your brain rejects the premise of the question, and that simplifies things for our hardworking brain. And then there is a topic which fascinates me. It's called false memories. I experienced one such when I was in New Orleans one year for a neuroscience conference. A staff member of the Dana Foundation, who had arranged for everybody's itineraries, insisted that I had requested and needed a smoking room at the hotel in New Orleans. I assured her that I didn't need one, nor did I want one. I told her that she was mistaken because I often accompanied a colleague on walks in which the colleague took a cigarette break. I did not smoke, I've never smoked, but the staff member saw me walking once or twice with this woman who was smoking, and the staff member just assumed that she saw me having a cigarette. Nothing I could say would dissuade her from her conviction. Well, what are some tips for maintaining and keeping a good memory? One is reading, and not from an electronic device such as a computer or tablet, but from a good old fashioned paper bound book. The tactile experience, the ability to write notes, the stable page background, unlike a screen with jumping uh, characters and light, um, are among the factors that boost memory from reading a book. Another way to build and keep memories is to write things down. Notes can be very helpful and can strengthen memories that may be difficult or complicated to retain. Walk. Mild aerobic exercise has been shown to have numerous positive effects on the body, and retaining memories is one of them. Finally, regular sustained sleep will help you with memories. We have a national sleep crisis in this country, and it's because of poor sleep hygiene. Sleep has necessary physiological functions in our brains, one of which is clearing up the brain's daily waste buildup, all of which can play a key role in whether we develop or don't develop Alzheimer's disease or other dementias. And if you want ideas for foods that can boost memory, here they are. 1. Fatty fish to increase brain volume. 2. Eggs, protein and choline for memory and learning. 3. Berries, powerful antioxidants. 4. Avocados, to improve memory and concentration. 5. Kale, nutrition rich, reduces brain inflammation. 6. Lean red meat, for iron. 7. And the good part, dark chocolate, however, without the added sugar. Releases endorphins, reduces depression. 8. Walnuts, healthy fat. 9. Lentils, super rich in folate to boost brain performance and mood. And 10, finally, olive oil, high in protective antioxidants to reduce cell stress and damage. Well, this man was very important at the Dana Foundation, and he was very inspiring to the staff and his fellow scientists. Early in the existence of the Dana Foundation, he wrote this: "Every aspect of our lives depends on the normal functioning of our brains. Our education depends on it. The education of our children depends on it. Our hopes and aspirations are all represented in our brain. And all of these human qualities are at risk if something goes wrong with one's brain." Well, please learn more. This presentation cannot be an encyclopedic description of matters relating to the brain and to our memory and to our daily lives. But it's a gateway. We want you to learn more. And my God, in this internet age, there are just tons and tons of information. But just be sure they are credible. And we'll follow up with information on how you can spot the credible from the non-credible. So learn more. Start by reading our book, which elaborates on this presentation, Our Memories, Our Lives: How Our Remarkable Brain Captures Life's Moments and What We Can Do to Preserve Them. Now, you can find this book on Amazon.com, but you can get there quickly by following the link in the description below this video. And it's a little tricky. YouTube has made it a little tricky. You have to look for the word "more" under the video where you click to watch. The clicking on the word "more," four-letter word, will bring you to the full description, where we'll have links and some other pertinent information. Well, we hope you enjoyed watching this. The brain is fascinating. It's critical for better lives. It's critical for healthy lives. And if you're like me, you'll find it amazingly interesting and almost, well, really romantic. Thank you for watching. Be well. Be kind.